Good morning, everybody. We want to introduce Amy, and she is our RE coordinator.
Hi, everybody. I'm here to let you know that RE is starting this coming Sunday, September 27th. And we're doing things a little bit differently this year because everything is virtual. Today, we are picking up our RE supply kits today. So hopefully you signed up. If you haven't, there's still time. I can throw together a few extra bags for you. And next Sunday, this coming Sunday, we'll have Chalice Children for kids 4K through kindergarten at 9 a.m. We have Crossing Paths at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. For 6th through 9th. We're also doing something new this year. We're having a book club for kids in 3rd and 12th grade, 3rd through 12th grade, and we're starting with the one and only Ivan, which is a really awesome book. We are also doing Stamped Remixed for kids. That'll be for kids in 6th through 12th grade. That meets at 2:15 to 3:15. And then once a month, we're going to work on our crafts that we have in this bag. So we'll meet the 2nd and 4th of every Sunday on Zoom. Check your inboxes for the links, and I hope to see you next week.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the Reverend Julianne Lepp, and it is so great to be with you this morning. We gather in reverence this morning together, and I'm going to share some words by Sophia Lyon-Fahs. We gather in reverence before the wonder of life, the wonder of this moment, the wonder of being together, so close yet so far apart, each hidden in our own secret chamber, each listening, each trying to speak, yet none fully understanding, none fully understood. We gather in reverence before all intangible things that eyes see not, nor ears can detect, that hands can never touch, that space can never hold, and time cannot measure. I also wanted to share a brief announcement this morning. Once again, our congregation has the opportunity to help out families experiencing homelessness at the Beacon House shelter, which helps out families. Due to COVID-19, we won't be allowed inside the building. However, starting next Sunday, September 27th, we will be providing suppers to about 15 people at the shelter every night. Here's your chance to show off your cooking skills, according to Ken Adler, for a very deserving and appreciative group. Please consider signing up and providing a meal or side dish. And the link will be found in our chat. And also you can phone Ken Adler or follow UU Connections. Thanks so much for being the caring community that you are.
Good morning. I'm David Hirsch, Congregation President this year. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We are a religious community who commit ourselves to diversity. We hope to nourish human differences, those of gender, race, age, ability, sexual orientation, political views, culture, class, and religious belief. Welcome to all who treasure freedom of conscience in the search for truth. We promise to do our best to provide you a spiritual home. We extend a special welcome to our visitors today. We hope you will follow our UUC Facebook page and stay tuned for other events such as Wonderful Wednesdays and Sunday morning meditation. There are religious exploration classes for adults and small groups for support and interests like book club. Also, families can follow our UUC Religious Exploration Facebook page. There are religious exploration classes for 4K through 9th grade and youth group every Wednesday online for middle school and high school. We're so glad you joined us today.
Across the distance, the light from within me shines, sending love to all. Across the distance, your light is fuel that warms me and helps to keep my own light burning. Together, we keep the flame of community burning bright. Words by Laura Thompson.
And now we're going to hear from Kurt Erickson, who will be reading this morning for Ashley Curtis.
Morning. This reading is To Risk by Anonymous. To laugh is to risk appearing the fool. To weep is to risk appearing sentimental. To reach out for another is to risk exposing our true self. To place our ideas, our dreams before the crowd is to risk loss. To love is to risk not being loved in return. To hope is to risk despair. To try is to risk failure. To live is to risk dying. Now is the time for giving. Each Sunday, we give half of all non-pledged donations to nonprofit organizations that work to help others. This month's 50/50 recipient is the Community Table. You can text to give at 84321, and you can text HELP to get started with that. You can also donate online at uueauclair.com. These words of Jessica Lynn remind us of why we give. I come on Sunday feeling weary, having worn out the snooze button on my alarm clock. I come on Sunday feeling frightened, having seared my eyes reading the latest news. I come on Sunday feeling burdened, having fretted about my work day worries. But I leave Sunday service feeling refreshed, having been renewed by the spirit of love in the community that exists here. I leave Sunday service feeling whole, feeling lifted up by the words of righteous challenge. I leave Sunday service feeling energized, ready to continue our fight for peace and justice. This haven, this refuge, this place of worship and wonder exists because we make it so with our contributions, the gifts of our time, our skills, our love, our laughter, and our money. Please join me in giving so that we may continue to have a place that fortifies and challenges us in these trying and troubled times. With gratitude for the abundance in our lives, we give to help people in need and help to support the work of this congregation. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Now is the time in our service where we share our joys and concerns. You may share your joys and concerns in the chat, and I will share them aloud in this circle of community and care. I want to share a brief meditation this morning as we type our joys and concerns, or perhaps even just carry them in our hearts. These are the words of Kenneth P. Langer. Let me find peace within, so that I may be calm throughout. Let me find
John, if you want to flip over to me, it
silence
looks like,
within.
oh, Julie, are you back?
Kurt, I can hear you right now.
Okay, no, I wanted to make sure you were back. You went off for a bit.
Thank you. I think I'm back. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay? This is doing service in the internet age. We are entering back into our joys and concerns, and want to enter into that moment of caring for one another. So I'll begin again. Let me find peace within, so that I may be calm throughout. Let me find silence within, so that I may find my compassion throughout. Let me be reminded that some things are worth waiting for. Let me be reminded that the journey is more important than reaching the destination. And I would tell that to your kids in the car sometimes when they're little. Let me see that the non-doing is as much a part of the life as doing. Let me be reminded that in these moments of holding on, that I can find quietude and renewal. that I can find within this time in action, that I can find rest, that I can become full. Amen and blessed be. I'm going to share some of the joys and concerns in our chat this morning. I know as many of us are concerned with the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I lift up her brave life where she held a light for so many of us in standing up for gender equality and with the example of her life. From Sue Beadle Sizem, today is my father's Yarzit, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. The anniversary of his death. I miss him and my mom every day. We hold you, Sue, in this circle of care. From Deb, my son Theo is facing challenges with his health. We definitely are holding you and also your son, Theo, Deb. Amy has a joy that we have the ability to continue to do RE with the youth in our congregation in a safer way. I know I've really enjoyed doing weekly youth group with over 6 congregations worth of youth, and it's so neat to talk with people from Alabama and Texas and Madison all in the same time. From David Hirsch, I'm concerned for the future of an organization that is very important to me, the Chippewa Valley Theater Guild. Unable to put on shows, the Guild is really struggling to stay alive financially. This is from Martha. A joy that my sister had a successful surgery on Monday to remove a tumor from her lung. That is wonderful. So I know one of the things that I miss about joys and concerns is the spontaneous clapping and the joy that is for being present for one another. But it is wonderful to see your faces, even if it is in this virtual space. I want to share also this final candle from Lacey Hayward. I'm grateful my family out west is all safe from the fires. We will say a prayer and lift them up today to Lacey. I'm going to close our joys and concerns this morning with a familiar reading. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And one final candle of joy from Marcia Jacobs, a new visitor with our congregation, and we look forward to getting to know her. She says, I'm getting settled in my apartment and finding things in Eau Claire. I am beginning to feel a part of the EC and the UUC. Welcome very much to you, Marcia. Now I'll turn it over to Kurt.
People ask me sometimes, is this a gay church? It is a privilege to answer. Ours is absolutely, gladly, hopefully, and humbly, gaily a gay church, a gay tradition where everyone, including heterosexual members and friends, is welcome, where everyone is needed, where everyone's experience is cherished as a sacred text, because no one's experience of living or loving can be comprehensive, because each of us holds clues the others need about how to live with dignity and joy as a human person. And none of us knows enough about that yet to be considered whole. It is absolutely a gay church, even as ours is a gay world, if you would look around. Gay church, straight church, people's church, a human congregation made holy by the holy hopes and fears and dreams of all who wish to come. Come in, we say. Come out, come in. We're all in this together. I will not speak of tolerance with its courteous clenched teeth and bitter resignation. I will not speak about acceptance of other people and some other kind of lifestyle. I can only look in laughing wonder at human life in all its incarnations. I can taste only in passing the breath of the spirit of life on my mouth and understand our common longing to breathe deep, deep gulps of it. I cannot think of being anybody else's ally, even, because even that implies some degree of separation, some degree of safety for some of us, not all. We are allied with no one and with nothing but love. The larger love transcending all understanding, within which all the differing, gorgeously various, variant, beautifully deviant aspects of ourselves are bound in elegant unity. I know that on some sad and disappointing days, these words describe the church that yet shall be, and not the church that is. I know, but I know too, that to answer is an act of creation. To answer this question and some others is a privilege, a prophetic imperative, a joy, a duty, and a holy sacrament.
Thank you, Kurt. You know, as I was thinking about our welcoming service this morning, I got the news of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and thought, well, now it's time to write a different sermon. and of course, all the pain and the concern and watching Facebook blowing up and social media and feeling really at a loss as to think about, you know, how in the world do you address one more thing happening in 2020? You know, how can I possibly, with my mere words, reach across this really tough year? And then I thought about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and her collar and her lace gloves and her fierceness, her ability to break down barriers and her bravery and how hard she fought. And I thought, well, I can write a sermon. I think I can write a sermon. And you know, it's so interesting. You know, I thought today we were really celebrating being a welcoming congregation. It's important that we welcome every person who is at least ready and interested but we also have, you know, barriers to behavior too, right? You know, we welcome, but we also hold people accountable. So if someone came in and saying bad things about LGBTQ people, we would say, nope, sorry, you can't say those words here. We greet you in love, but we ask you to leave. And that's how Ruth Bader Ginsburg was. She called people to account. And you know, I think about what she went through. She graduated from Columbia Law School in 1959, having transferred there from Harvard after the dean would not allow her to complete her coursework in New York. So she went where her husband was working, and she still couldn't find a job at a law firm. Some judges would not allow her to clerk for them, especially telling her that it was because of her gender. And you know, she faced a lot of barriers, as many women did during that time. She had a supportive partner, and that's wonderful that she had that ally. But I don't want to take her success and give it to her partner. But it does help, right, if we do have allies. And I think that's something for us to remember as well, is that you can be the most fierce person on the planet, but we can't do this alone. We need each other. We need community. And when Ruth Bader Ginsburg fought for gender equality, she said, let us lead in such a way that other people will join us. And I think that's important, you know, because we can get really angry about the injustice in the world. And we forget that, you know, that we want to call people in. You know, there is definitely time to call people out, but we have to also call people in. And she was a hero for many women with her fierceness, breaking down the barriers. In 1996, Ginsburg wrote the majority opinion in the United States versus Virginia, holding that qualified women could not be denied admission to the Virginia Military Institute. I remember that, and I remember thinking that, okay, you know, things are changing. When I was a little girl, I was told that women couldn't be ministers, and you know, I think, you know, I'm sure that when Ruth Bader Ginsburg decided to go into law, I think there was only maybe 5% of women were lawyers. You know, when we see people who can epitomize that leadership, it changes for us. And according to OYE, a free law project, until her death on September 18th, 2020, Ginsburg worked out with a personal trainer in the Supreme Court's exercise room. And for many years, she could lift more than many justices. I just think of her just lifting weights, and it makes me so happy. Until the 2018 term, Ginsburg had not missed a day of oral arguments, not even when she was undergoing chemotherapy for pancreatic cancer, after surgery for colon cancer, or the day after her husband passed away in 2010. Justice Ginsburg proved time and time again that she was a force to be reckoned with, and those who doubted her capacity to effectively complete her judicial duties needed to be put on notice. They only needed to look at her record in oral arguments, and where she was, until her death, among the most avid questioners on the bench. And when I read about that word, that description in this law project of calling her an avid questioner, it's like, yeah, that's a good thing to be, right? That's avid, questioning, present, powerful. And she did that in her own right, but she also did it in a way that she called people to her, and she embraced her community. And I like to think that, you know, we get lots of jokes about question marks and Unitarian Universalism, and I like to think that, you know, we're kind of avid questioners, right? We question, and we also call people in with love. When I first encountered this church, during my search, Karen Hirsch was on the search committee, and I just thought, how can someone be that welcoming? She was always, she had a smile. And in the South, sometimes, not always, but sometimes people would, I would listen for their meaning, like, well, what is she really saying? But she was really saying welcome. And since I've been here for 10 years, it seems like most Sundays I see Karen, and now I see her online, or I see her, you know, doing these wonderful things over the phone. And we keep trying to be that avid presence, and I think of Molly Larson. She is a new board member. She's in college during this horrible time of COVID, and she's working on the Green Lawn Initiative with our Jonah Environmental Task Force. You know, there's so many ways in which people are doing amazing things. And I think there is power in being present with one another. Holding people accountable is the way to go, but doing it in the spirit of love. You know, and I know when I see a headline or I see something, I want to just use every bad word that I was ever told not to say, right? And I might do that under my breath or at home, but when I go and I try and call people in, I try to use words that remind people that we are one humanity, that we are working for the beloved community, that I believe, and I hope they believe, and I will help them believe and hold them accountable, blah, 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 to believe. See, I get all excited. In the inherent worth and dignity of every person. So important. It's so important. So when I think of Ruth Bader Ginsburg saying, fight for the things you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. And that's powerful. So today we have gathered in love, and I know for myself some pain at the state of the world. You know, there are Black people dying. There is systemic racism in the institutions of our state and our country. It is hard to keep going. It is hard. Every day I hear a headline and I just feel like my back bends down. And I know many of you have contacted me and said, you know, how do I keep going? And I think there's that time of being gentle and finding the time to rest. Yesterday, I took the afternoon and walked through the parks of Eau Claire with my oldest child, and we took pictures, and I reconnected with nature, and I felt a part of something larger than myself. Instead of, you know, having my phone and looking at the headlines and scrolling and getting myself into this state of agitation, I tried to slow down and to ground myself and to see what was around me and to live life. You know, I think there's the sense of both and I was talking about this with a small group of UUs. I keep seeing these memes that say, the world is burning and I'm going to the beer garden. The world is burning and I'm going to go do whatever it is. And whenever you say that phrase, I just go, oh, don't say that phrase. But it's true. And it's always been true that when life is hard, it's right there. But we also have to live our lives. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg embodied this. You know, she talked about motherhood, and she talked about, I read a quote by her talking about her mom telling her what it was like to be a lady. And I think about the messages I got growing up about being a lady is smiling and agreeing and making the man feel comfortable. Nope. Ruth Bader Ginsburg did not get that message. She said, my mom taught me that being a lady was to be independent. Love it, love it, love it. So there are so many things that can enrich our lives and doing it together. And so this is a time of Rosh Hashanah, and during that time, Jewish people seek to examine their lives, to reconnect with what is holy, and perhaps to forgive themselves and others. And, you know, 2020 has a lot to answer for. It really does. And, you know, so I like to think that we're going to hold 2020 and all of this accountable, but that we can begin again in love. And there's a phrase that we have in one of our songs: we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. And I think we forget that sometimes, that we can begin again. We fall short. Our society falls short. Our world will miss the mark. But we can defend the worth and dignity of people. And there will be good leadership. There will be people who will speak out and love, and the Karen Hirsches in the world and the Molly Larsons in the world who do good things. David Hirsch said today in his board welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation. We are a religious community who commit ourselves to diversity. We hope to nourish human differences, those of gender, race, age, ability, sexual orientation, political views, culture, class, and religious belief. Welcome to all who treasure freedom of conscience in the search for truth. We promise to do our best to provide you a spiritual home. We promise that we will welcome, that we will try and be a part of a community, and we will make mistakes. And that's part of what the Welcoming Congregation program came out of, right? You know, a few people told me that our welcome was a little bit long. You know, we had a lot of words in there. And Unitarian Universalists like to do that. You know, we'll say about 5 different names for God, or the ground of being. But in all seriousness, the welcome is so important. I had watched a new person who walked in and sat in our pews and cried his eyes out when he heard that welcome. And he said to me that he had never heard of a welcome like that in a spiritual home, or had never truly felt welcomed for all of who he is. And so I think that's really profound, you know, to build a community where all of who you are is welcome. And it takes work. It takes a lot of work. And it also brings a lot of joy. The Unitarian Universalist congregation became a welcoming congregation in 2003. And this was with the leadership of Laura Jensen, Reverend Virginia Wolf, and others. And our congregation did the work of thinking about inclusion in programming, language, and leadership and practice. And we know that religious spaces have not always been welcoming places to all people, especially when it comes to gender and sexuality. And we're out to change that. UUs have worked hard to make sure lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people are full members of our faith community. And I like to extend this metaphor out into the world. You know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg used that same spirit to make sure that women were thought of in leadership. And she also was respectful to those that she disagreed with, you know, and she called people in. So in 1987, the Unitarian Universalist Association worked with clergy and laity and to create the Welcoming Congregation program. And although the UUA had been on record since 1970 for supporting the rights of LGBTQ persons, the lived experience of these people spoke a different and painful truth. The committee published a report that exposed many negative attitudes, deep prejudices, and profound ignorance about LGBTQ persons. And this reality troubled us, you know, trouble the water, make good trouble. And the first thing is to notice. And I think now in the 2020s, most UU congregations are welcoming congregations. And I love the reading. Yes, we're a gay church. We are unabashedly, you know, and I love that reading by Victoria Safford. And a clergy friend of mine was doing a protest in Georgia, and a supporter of a certain belief system yelled at her and said, "Go back to your gay church." She said, "I would love to." And so, you know, it's now, isn't that better than telling that person to go somewhere? And, you know, and maybe she could follow it up like, "Why don't you join me? We'll show you some love." I don't know. It's so hard, right? To have that welcoming spirit in the face of so much going on. But I think that this congregation is continuing to do that work. We were doing, you know, in recent years, we have tried to learn more about pronouns, gender identity. You know, I've had people come up to me with some confusion about different pronouns and why are they using that? And isn't that just hard? I said, yeah, you know, it's hard, but we let people define who they are. You know, just like I wouldn't tell you not to be a Sierra Club member. I wouldn't tell someone to use a different pronoun if that was their truth. And we're continually stretching ourselves and growing. And more recently, we've definitely been using words like white supremacy culture. If we had used those words a few years ago, I think some people's heads might have exploded, because, you know, what is white supremacy culture in Eau Claire? We're such a warm and welcoming place. Yeah, for some of us. And there's a lot of us that don't experience that all the time. And so, we're constantly thinking about where do the circles of welcome happen. In 2019, there was a queer prom, which was the most fun. And it offered an alternative to teens to be able to go to a prom that was welcoming of their identity. And I went there with my children, and they had a blast. And what was really special to me, though, is that there were 3 other female clergy, and Lutheran clergy, mind you, and they were from Eau Claire, and we all hung out together as chaperones, and that just blew my mind in such a good way. And I think it's important to know that there are welcoming spaces in Eau Claire, and that we can partner with these congregations and just continue to be an example and to learn from one another, right? And I have one last idea. When yesterday, when I was feeling particularly heavy with the news of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, it was my oldest, Kendra, was having their senior picture day, and I don't know if senior picture day is a big thing in the Midwest or if it's everywhere. But I know growing up, I did not have a picture day, and I thought, well, this is great. We're gonna lift up who they are and have a good time and feel beautiful and sacred worth, all that good stuff. And and we all went out there to this bridge, and we met up with these 2 photographers who are super sweet, beautiful people. And they gave us this long spiel about photos bringing out your soul, and just all this. How when you pose for photos, sometimes you kind of get stiff and feel put on the spot. There was a blossoming that was so welcoming, and to feel that as a parent and to watch. We spent the whole afternoon just having shots taken and feeling honored. It was really beautiful. And I think these small acts of kindness really do change things. I know. I've gone through periods of trying to remember to open doors for people, and the look of surprise, instead of like, how you leave in a hurry and the door almost slams on the person behind you and you go, oh, whoops. And so when I'm being mindful, I will stop and hold open the door, and people are kind of like, oh, thank you. And that small moment is that inherent worth and dignity. So as we are in our own spaces, as we are afraid of the virus that is the pandemic, as we struggle with the news, think about how we are connected, how we are building the beloved community, one action, one word at a time. And there are moments where you're going to want to, beat up the pillow, scream out the window, go for it. But if you can add to the love in the world, if you can call people to yourself, I'm not remembering the exact quote from Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but if we can call people in with love, we will build that community, and we will be a part of something that we can be proud of. There's so much to be proud of in this country and in this world. And I refuse to let the hate win. I refuse to be silenced by fear and torn apart by things that seem insurmountable, because I believe in people like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I believe in Molly Larson, and I believe in Ashley Curtis and Ralph Edwards and Phil Swanhorst and Sue Beetlesizem, and I believe in all of you. I know that each thing that we do makes a difference, and I love you, and I know that we'll get through this. And so thank you for being with me this morning, and thank you for being you. Amen.
Ready? Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hot nights. If you cannot speak like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the dark nights. Love will guide us through the dark nights.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Thank you for joining us today. Our closing words are from Theodore Parker. Be ours a religion which, like sunshine, goes everywhere. Its temple, all space, its shrine, the good heart. Its creed, all truth. Its ritual, works of love. Its profession of faith, divine living. Amen and blessed be.